As the sun comes up on an Ozark mountain setting, Pastor Joe surveys the land and drinks his coffee. Good morning. Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. I just shot a 30-minute video standing here and ended up hating it. So, part deux. I was talking about two things, and I'm going to talk about them. I'm just going to do about it in a different way. I started bumming myself out, and I'm not here to bum you out, all right? Dog, go on. Routines, goals, and going for it. That's what I'm going to talk about. As many of you know, I have a routine of coffee in the morning. Kevin's Coffee Roasters from Vernon, Connecticut. Check them out. Thank you, Kevin. Hey, what's your routine in the morning? You know, I have a new routine here because I get it. My life is different from most people. I can ease into my day a little bit. I can get up when I want. I can go to sleep when I want, which is nice. But that didn't happen by accident. That's how we're going to kind of tie this together down towards the end of this video. But I wake up. I usually say a quick prayer. Thanks for letting me live through the night. Thanks for this day. Please guide me on this day. It's a simple prayer. I'm not awake very much. I usually lay my hand on my wife's head and ask for blessings upon her. And then I get up. And then depending on how it goes, I usually start coffee right away. It's like one of the first things I do. And then if I'm kind of awake, I'll read the Bible a little bit. Proverbs, or where I think I'm going in the sermon, or something I'm interested in. And when I say a little bit, 10, 15 minutes, right? Not a lot. And then I'll get on my phone and I'll check Drudge and BBC and, you know, the Asian papers and RT, you know, just kind of go around. Then I'll check a couple websites usually. Although my wife's got me cutting down my internet time, and I think that's a good move on her part. Then I'll do that for a few minutes, drink a cup of coffee, basically. And then I kind of start my day. And yesterday I ran, I told you that. Today I took a hike. I called it a hike. To call it a walk sounds like an old man walking on gravel roads. So it's a hike with my Ridgebacks. Because I'm a Viking. But I did that today, and you know, then I get to think about what I read, what I saw, and kind of get my day going. And so that's kind of my morning routine. And like I said a couple videos ago, I'm sort of half changing that to just get up, have one cup of coffee, don't shoot videos like I am now in the morning. I should be working now because it's really nice out. Today's going to be a little bit different. So I'm shooting a video. And so, So today while I was walking, I was looking at all these edible foods that the Lord has provided, that we have just discovered in the last couple of years. And example, I told my wife I was reading about food forests, and this type of area is typically, I think, something called like an oak savanna or something. And there's certain categories of trees and plants that grow. And as I was reading that yesterday, Restoration Agriculture is the name of the book. It's an interesting book. As I was reading that yesterday, he was talking about these plants, and I'm like, we have all these plants except for currants, which I don't even really know what they are. Aren't they kind of like raisins or something? And gooseberries. And I told my wife, we need to, next time we go up to High Prairie Acres, we need to dig up some gooseberry bushes and bring them down here because they'll grow here. And she goes, we have one. It's growing on a Homestead Road and blah, blah, blah. And so today I saw it. I saw the gooseberry bush, and I'm like, awesome. And so now I want to kind of go weed around it just to let it have less competition, because you know, here's food that the Father has provided. It's just one. And I showed you yesterday the sumacs that are growing here. There's so much more up there that I found, and this is like the first year for them. And so, you know, our vitamin C over winter is taken care of, and blackberries galore and some raspberries. So that's cool because we didn't plant any of those. We just kind of manage them. Passion fruit grows here, which is a vine with these little fruits on them. They're kind of nice. And they just started growing. We have grapes, muscadines, and back behind me there's some grapes growing, and my wife actually took some net bags and put around the grapes so the birds wouldn't eat them. And we're starting to notice more and more grapevines growing. So that's cool. Nuts galore, hickory nuts, walnuts, acorns like you wouldn't believe. And so it's like, all right, we have a lot to, not to mention all the green plants, that you can eat, all the wild edibles. The goosefoot, lamb's quarter we call it, and curly dock, and, dandelions, and, stuff like that. So it's like, wow, without planting anything, we have a lot of food. And I was looking at our road, and it's kind of pretty, and I'm like, wow, it's nice, and even though some of it's messy, but I was feeling blessed, right? I was feeling content, and I was thinking, this is nice. But it didn't happen overnight. And money is a relative thing, right? I got a job one time making what I considered pretty good money. And then I found out that, former politicians were given 20-minute speeches for, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 and stuff. And it's like, okay, I don't make any money. If they make that in a 20-minute speech, I'm not making anything. But it's all relative, right? And the military, I served in the military for 20 years. It pays okay, but it doesn't pay great. If you want to make money, you don't want to go into the military, right? You'll make more money doing whatever you do in the military in the civilian world. Similar levels of responsibility and work and stuff. But it paid enough, and I've seen people get out of the military with a lot of money. I've seen people get out of the military with no money. I've seen people turn their military careers into something lucrative. I've seen them turn their military, afterwards, and I've seen them, not, just crawl into a bottle and die. And so it's all about people. You can spend every cent you make. Whether you make, $20,000 a year or $300,000 a year. You can spend every cent you make. Or you can also save a lot of it. And saving it, it adds up. Different people, different strokes, different techniques. I'm not a financial advisor. But I am a goal setter. And I'm a motivator. And I personally am motivated by goals. If I don't have a goal, I just kind of float around, I have a goal for this 100-mile race. I have a hard deadline, March. All right, I know what I have to do between now and then to get ready for that. Goal setting, boom, ready? And then you set up your mileposts and your intermediate goals. So here I am, living here on Shofar Mountain, my perfect survivalist retreat homestead. Although, it's funny, people watch on YouTube and some people think, man, that's cool, you're off-grid, you have your own water source, you're using solar power, you're growing food, no one's bothering you out there. And a lot of people, I get this, like the idea of it. But when reality comes, it's like, ooh, yeah, no, I wouldn't want to do that. And I don't blame you, right? But this didn't just happen. My wife and I, man, I was young. I wasn't 30 yet. We decided when I retired from the military, 20 years after I joined, we wanted to retire in a rural area. And so we started looking, right? Before the internet, we started looking. And we came upon this place, which is a long story, but we found it. And we started just throwing money at it. Money that our peers were throwing at new cars or her new car. He's already got a new car, let's get her a new car. Or going on vacations to nice places or whatever. And we're like, nope, we're going to sacrifice. We have a goal, and we're going to start paying for that. And so we did. And that's how we did it. And then I get people say, yeah, but you had that job and I have this job and you don't understand, I have kids. And really, those are just excuses. which is one of the reasons I really like Brother Chris and Sister T, who I did a few videos on. Following Yeshua is their channel. And, excuse me, 4 children, stay-at-home mom. He wasn't making a lot of money, didn't have a lot of money. They're doing it. They bought land in the Ozarks and moved there and are carving out a home on it. I had a couple here yesterday that we met, family, and spent some time with them and walked around and stuff. And I'm just using that experience to kind of go off of. So everything I say doesn't apply to them. It's kind of like when somebody writes a movie or a book about something, sort of. They just kind of use the idea and then go with it. That's kind of what I'm doing. But it's like, there are people out there who want to move to the country, but they're not willing to give up certain things, even though they think they are. And that, I'm not phrasing that right, but I'll give you an example. I'll just be blatantly honest here. So they have evidently a nice house in the state they live in, and they're getting ready to sell it, and they want to move out here. But talking about money, they don't want to really spend a whole lot of money on a place, right? And which is fine. You don't have to. And so I showed them a house on a couple acres. It was a double wide, and it was a little rough. And they were like, ew. And I look at it. Hold on a second. I got to yell at my dogs. Hey, dogs, come here. They just started running up the road and then up the mountain for some reason. Sorry. But you know, our house, people look at our house and they're like, oh, it's so cool, or until they get here. And then they're like, wow, it's kind of messy and there's no way I'd poop in a bucket and you've got to haul rainwater, or what do you do about mosquito larvae? And you know, they're kind of like, ew, I like the idea, but I don't like the reality. I tell everybody, it's a lot easier, and I got a little sidetracked, but that's okay. It's a lot easier to do what we're doing if you already have electricity and running water. You know, being off-grid doesn't make one a better person. Right? And you know, you could start out with a falling apart farmhouse missing one wall and that has a bad roof that has running water and electricity, and it'll be a lot easier for you to make that transition into whatever kind of off-grid or homestead lifestyle you want. You can fix it up as you go, but at the end of the day you can take a hot shower and, you know, plug in your whatever, and so that's nice. But if you can move from wherever you are now to the country and live in a house because you feel that you need to get to the country from a preparedness mindset, okay, this is the whole, there's a lot of like assumed things in my thought process here, but it's like one thing's, all right, I need to move to the country because the world's fixing to fall apart and I want to be in a good place for me and my family. Hey dog, don't be getting crazy. And if you can move from the nice house that you're in now to a nice house very similar to it in the country and everything's cool, good for you, man. And I mean that. You know, there are mansions out in the country. And if you can do that, awesome. But if you can't and you're holding yourself back because you're like, well, I can't really find anything good enough, so I really do want to move to the country, but I'm just going to stay here. I think you're making a wrong decision and you're limiting yourself. And just consider how the Pilgrims lived. Consider how Jamestown lived. Consider how the American Indians lived. And they all lived, you know, after life got going. The Pilgrims in Jamestown, half of them died, right? But then after, you know, they got their feet under them and stuff, they lived happy, fulfilled lives in little houses that they built themselves. And, you know, you can do a lot more. And so, what do you really want? Do you really want the house with 2 extra bedrooms, the 2-car garage, easy access to the mall, all the ModCons hookups and everything in the house? Or do you want to live out in the country? And again, if you can have it all, baby, if you can have all of that in the country, awesome. But if you can't, and you're like, I really do want to live in the country, but I really want to have, you know, my 3 refrigerators and my, you know, cool dishwasher. I think you need to sit down and have a talk with yourself and decide what is it that you really want. And you'll be happier either way if you just decide what you want and either accept it and stay with it or go for it. You know, if what you really do want is a comfortable life with your nice clean carpet and, you know, I want all the computer system and the stereo system and the gaming system and, you know, I want to have Ethiopian food delivered to the house, then accept that. And do the best you can with what you got where you're at, right? If that's what you really need as a person. But if you really do want to go live in the country, don't let anything get in your way. Set your goals and go for it. And just decide, this is what I'm going to do. And make everything you do support the goal that you want. I am moving to the country. Where are you going? How are you going to get there? What don't you need from here, there? Start getting rid of it and go. And I tell everybody, go visit, you know, do your research on the internet. Lots of research. Then go to the area, and a way, not the way, but a way is find the area that you like, find a job. Now that you have a job, you know how much money you're going to make. Secure housing. It could just be a rental for now. That's fine. Go back, move, because you're already ready to move. When you're doing your research, you were getting ready to move. Move to your new rental or the new house you bought that quickly. Start your job. Look for a better job. Look for a better place, but you're in the area, you're in the country making contacts. So, goal setting, sacrifice. Now, I realize that with the current world situation, a lot of people are like, man, this baby is fixing to pop this year. By next year, the world's going to be different. You know, I got to do it now. I'm just waking up now. For the vast majority of people, you can't get here from there now. Unless you do have a lot of money. And if you have a lot of money, you can do a lot of things. But if you don't, you can't. What to do? Chill. Sabao. Relax. Have your immediate plan for what I'm going to do tomorrow if the EMP hits or the volcano goes off or the nukes start falling or whatever. Have a plan. Work that little plan. Do the best you can with what you got where you're at. And then still set a long-term goal. Where do you want to be 20 years from now? How do you want to be set up 20 years from now? Where do you want to be 5 years from now? Where do you want to be 10 years from now? And then start moving towards that goal. Because guess what? The world may not end next week or next year or next decade. It could just plod along like it has been, and it would be a shame not to have started getting your ducks in a row for the goal that you want, because you were too focused about, you know, I got to do it now. You're going to have to take a long-term view on things and sacrifice and have a plan. I realize that most of my audience is older, you know, 40 and up. But there's young people out there watching. And if you're younger, you're in your earning years, right? You know, I think in America, your earning years are probably, I'm guessing here, mid-20s to about 50. You know, maybe 60 if you really hang in there. But really, your 30s are when you should be making the money, and 40s, right? You should be bringing it in. And when you're bringing it in, are you buying flashy cars and new sound systems and games and another gun? Or are you putting it towards a goal that you want? A long-term goal. What do you know, tell a 20-year-old, what do you see yourself doing when you're 60? Oh, that's old, man. I'm going to be dead. You might be. There's people younger than me in nursing homes. I mean, there are. What do you want out of life? Set a goal and go for it. I really encourage you to do that. Don't take no for an answer. I can't remember if it's this take or the take I did before, but Brother Chris and Sister T, they set a goal. They went for it. They're living in the Ozarks. They're making it work. If you like where you are, that's cool. I'm not saying you got to live in the Ozarks to have it made. I'm not saying you have to live off-grid to have it made. I'm not even saying you got to live in the country to have it made. But I think if you are surrounded by people, you are, one, you're not going to have the same quality of life that you'll have out in the country. And two, if things go topsy-turvy, being surrounded by a lot of people is a bad thing. And so if you can get out into the countryside, and it's not just the Ozarks, you know, what do they call it? The Redoubt. Cool, you know. Go there. Upstate New York. Cool. Maine. I'd like to go to Maine, you know. And then for the non-United States Americans out there, I don't know what I don't know about your area, you know. We have some Brits, some Irish, some Aussies, some formerly Eastern Europeans. There's still countryside in different places. I don't know if you can afford it. I don't know what the laws and the rules are and stuff like that. But if you have a choice of living in a city or moving to a village, I think a village is probably better. But again, I don't know what I don't know. You know, Australia seems to me to be a huge country with not a lot of people. There's got to be land that you can get on somewhere and make a go of it. Somebody was just back and forth with me on comments. I was reading them about southern Germany. I love southern Germany. Oh, and you said, how come, what's my background with Germany? All of my grandparents were from southern Germany or Austria. All four of them. So, you know, German face living in America. So that's that. Set goals. Decide what you want out of life. And I guess the final thing is this. I said it a little bit, but I'll hit it a little bit harder. Who said first know thyself? Some, you know, dude with a white beard. First know thyself. What do you really want? Because we all like the idea of things. I like the idea of having 6 Ridgebacks, but the reality, no, I don't want 6 Ridgebacks. A lot of people like the idea of living off-grid, but the reality, don't want that. A lot of people like the idea of living out in the country on a little slice of heaven, but then the reality of it, they're like, yeah, no, I'm not into that. The quicker you cut through what you like the idea of to what you really want in life, the happier you'll be. See, the rooster agrees. Decide what you really want. What do you really want? And go for it. You can do it. All right, maybe I'll see you out here.